So Ajay reached out to me about the conference, and he said that he thinks that I have some good stories to share. And when he started talking about the conference, I realized that I do have a lot of professional failures that I would like to share. But at the same time, there is one personal story about my learning disability and how it kind of created an impact on my life, and that I would really like to talk about it. So this talk is all about the struggles and the failures and the wins that I have with because of my learning disability. So let's back up a bit. I was born in the 80s. My parents, belong to a middle class family here in Pakistan, and they had no idea what dyslexia is. I also did not know about it. Of course, I was a child. So my school days and college days and university life, I have had a lot of problems with learning, even though I was a good student. But there were constant issues that my teacher would say that either she's doing it on purpose or she just wants to annoy us, or in some cases some of the teachers thought that I was a complete idiot. So for example, when I would write, I would replace B's with D's, I would replace P's with Q's, I would replace A's with E's. So writing, spelling things, reading out loud, these were, really problematic. And I had issue with pronunciating things. So if I'll read something, even though it would be very like obvious for normal people, phonetically, I wouldn't be able to understand how I can pronounce this word. um, so um, so learning was a struggle. I had no idea till I went to the public engineering university that I went to, and in my first year, I had a lot of problems with mathematics, with calculus, with engineering design, electrical engineering, and electronics engineering courses, and later that year, I was fortunate enough to get to an expert and talk about my problems. And then I was formally diagnosed that I had dyslexia. And my dyslexia is not something that got resolved in the childhood. There's a possibility that it will go to grave with me. So yeah, I was diagnosed pretty late later on. So what happens when you have dyslexia? Something like this. I was seeing initially earlier when I was talking about dyslexia, I saw a lot of people mentioned a movie, an Indian movie called Tare Zameen Pe. I've seen that movie. It's a brilliant movie. So yeah, exactly. That's what happens. You have issues with reading and writing and spelling. You have issues with understanding and sequencing things, decoding things. You will have problems with understanding multiple instructions, memorizing things. Mathematics will be a problem. Pronunciation is a problem. If you will tell me a story and ask me to summarize it, it will become very difficult for me to kind of create a summary around it. So that's what happens when people have dyslexia. It's not something uncommon. It is pretty common. So 1 in 5 people experience some sort of dyslexia in their lives, and of course, very few people are properly, diagnosed, and fewer people go to therapy for dyslexia. So dyslexia has different types. I basically have issues with auditory and focus related dyslexia. So understanding visual cues, understanding auditory information, and in a lot of cases, um, basically giving attention to something, staying focused and concentrated is a problem. So it kind of, in some ways, is similar to ADHD, and a lot of people who have dyslexia also develop ADHD. Um, so how a diagnosis can really help? Uh, of course, when you have diagnosis, there are tools that are available. You get guidance and support. So if you are a child, for you to get to know that you can't do things that other people can do, you will feel like a failure. It is a lot of burden on a child. Same goes for the parents. So if they're not aware, they will think that their child is an idiot. They won't be able to support them, give guidance to them, and you can manage the condition, of course, and you can get help with the experts. And of course, you can also, if you already know that you have this problem, you can watch out to related issues like ADHD and other related conditions. So how is dyslexia related to failure? So in a lot of cultures, you see that we like people who conform in the normal way of doing things. We like to be conforming to the social uh, ways of people, and professional ways and personal ways of people. So when you have dyslexia, you look at things differently, you understand things differently, and you are constantly kind of in a state of consistent learning and struggle with yourself, because there are a lot of social cues coming, a lot of information that is coming, and processing all of that and making sense out of that becomes a problem. So of course, you start feeling like a failure. You think that you have failed in your private life, in your public life, in your academic life, in your professional life. So it's extremely important that you have the right type of support system. And I was fortunate enough to have that, even though my parents did not understand what was wrong with me. I had excellent teachers who, even though they were not formally kind of aware about dyslexia, they really helped me in terms of building my own learning processes and making sure that I was learning things properly and I was taking my time in processing information. So the first really important thing that comes with dyslexia is that if you get the right type of resources and the right type of support, you get to know yourself. You kind of get to know your comfort zones, you know your hard yeses and your hard no's. You also get to know your own elasticity and your ability to kind of stretch yourself. So you know these are the things that you can learn, these are the things that you cannot learn. So in my case, if there is something that you have to do with your hands, and that has a lot of intricate patterns, something that you need to draw, something that you need to paint, things that require a lot of colors in them. So for me, learning that is very, very, very difficult. So I've tried to get into art, a lot of different types of art, but it did not work out for me, because I'm not someone who can learn that way. Uh, Again, you also get to know that how you relax, how you unwind, how you kind of turn off that kind of war struggle mode that you are usually in when you are around people, or when you're working, or you are learning. You learn to strategize, and you also learn what are the things that you're good at. So in my case, I got to know that explaining things simply has become something that I've become really good at. Testing things like software. I started my career as a software tester. I also got to know that I'm very good at idiot proofing things, because in most cases I'm the idiot. In most cases, you will send me something and I'll be the one asking you a million questions, because I won't be able to understand the instructions in it. So I kind of need very clear instructions, and instructions that are uh, kind of stand alone, and they do not ask me to look at 50 different things to kind of understand one thing. So, as now my job as a product manager, I'm doing a lot of that work that requires me to explain things, that requires me to research things, that requires me to kind of create a lot of work processes for my teams, and that kind of really helps me. It brings a very unique perspective to the job that I do, and same goes for testing. So I became really good at testing, and I kind of developed a very particular skill set when it comes to testing. That I was the one who was usually doing usability testing and user testing, because I could see things that other people couldn't. And so learning a tool, learning a new software, learning a new application is a very different kind of activity for me than other people. Um, the thing that you learn when you are dyslexic is that you learn that failing is okay, because you will do that a lot. That will happen to you a lot. You will fail a lot. Failure will happen to you. No matter how hard you try, there are going to be days when you will fail to do something. There are days when I can, just daily things, daily routine items or things that I do every day will start giving me grief, and I won't be able to understand them. So that happens. Failing is okay because it builds character. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you crisis management. It teaches you that what kind of emotional state you need to be in to kind of resolve a problem. And in my case, I've learned that when there is there is some place when I'm in a tough spot, or I know that things can go south in any way, I kind of remove my emotions out of that situation, and I kind of stop feeling that guilt or shame or whatever that is for that time only, so that I can resolve that problem, and then maybe later on I'll whine to my friends or whatever I need to do to get out of that mindset. So you also learn to build your process, because we know that nobody is always a winner. So when I fail, in my case, I'm usually taking a pause, I'm reflecting, I really enjoy writing, I unwind, and then I start over. And that's how you that's how life is for someone with dyslexia. So square one is a happening place. This will happen a lot, that you will keep on going back to square one. You'll have to learn things from scratch. You will have to learn things from different perspectives, and you will be learning and learning and relearning constantly. You will also learn to pivot. You will also learn that this is my limit and I cannot just, this is not something that I can do. So continuing the example, that I also tried to kind of get into graphic design. In one of my university projects, my teacher asked me that, there is an app and we want you to create an interface for it. And I was like, sure. But then she said that you also need to design a logo. And let me tell you, it took me 6 months and I wasn't able to do that logo, because I was just Photoshop, whatever tools that were there. I was just like, nah, this is not something that I can do, because I would learn it one day and the next day it would be just completely out of my system. So I learned that design in itself, like artistic design, is not my strong suit, and I should stay away from it as much as I can. Uh, I also kind of learned to understand and improve the way I observe things and I absorb them. So, of course, you understand your way of learning, and there is no shame in going back. There is no shame in asking questions. There is no shame in saying that, I'm sorry, I did not understand that. Maybe you can give me a day or an hour or 10 minutes or 15 minutes so that I can process it and get back to you. And this is something that I do a lot, that I will be in a classroom or in a meeting, I'll be the one taking a lot of notes and then going back, taking my time with them, processing them, and coming back with like a lot of million questions and a million strategies for the team. The next is tinkering is a life skill. So learning by doing is extremely important for a lot of people who have dyslexia. In my case, I really like to dive headfirst. I really like to just plunge in and start test running things. If so, in my line of work, other than just me working as someone who's a tech professional, I run a coding boot camp. I run a community for women. So a lot of my work is around community building. And when my team or anyone who comes up with an idea and I think it sounds like something that we should do, I will, without even kind of thinking twice about it, I am the kind of a person who will just jump into it, test run it, and then get back and then see what happens. Because I know that in perfect or perfect plans do not work out for me, but perfect plans or kind of strategizing things to the last minute details is not how I function. So in most of the cases, I'll be the one doing something, then learning from it, and then moving ahead. uh, the next thing is reading. So this will sound really weird to you, because I told you that I have a learning disability, but that learning disability made me um, an avid reader. The reason being because I learned over the years that reading is how I learn things better. So if there is something that you give me in the form of writing and well written writing, like someone has really put an effort into it, I will learn quicker, faster, better than just listening to someone who's talking. Um, but at the same time, if that thing is not done well, then I won't be understand even a single word. Let me give you an example. So I really enjoy cooking, and when I was little, I've been cooking since, I don't know, when I was 12. I think I started cooking when I was 12 years old. So I really enjoy cooking, and my parents kind of really encouraged me to do it more, and they kind of they bought me a lot of cookbooks, and they said, and at that time there was no internet, so they bought me cookbooks, so that these are the cookbooks that you can learn from. And my mother would supervise me understanding recipes. and especially the recipes that have not gone through a proper recipe editor, I was unable to learn anything at all. And the only way that I could learn how to cook was to observing my mother and my grandmothers, to see how they are doing things, to see how they're holding a knife, to see what how they add things to something, how they taste something, how they build up a flavor of a food or whatever they are doing. So if whatever I'm reading is not done well enough, then of course reading won't help. But in most cases, especially when today, when we have excellent instructions in terms of video instructions, audio instructions, and of course written instructions, reading really really helps you. And if you are dyslexic, it is going to be a lifesaver, because it will introduce you to new words, it will introduce you to uh, it will make you a better writer. And a lot of people with dyslexia have a fear of reading, so they will kind of run away from activities that involve reading. But because of the guidance and the help that I received, I learned that this is the only way to go. So I need to read so that I can understand people, I can understand different point of views, I can understand uh, I can understand language better, and I'm able to kind of get the information that people are trying to convey to me, that I usually, I usually am really bad at. Um, and of course, the last thing that I would like to talk about is that embrace whatever is given to you. You're not supposed to think of it as a personal failure. Dyslexia is something that happens to you. It's not something that you did to yourself. And even though if you did it to yourself, whatever the case may be, it is not a personal failure. It is not a professional failure. It is not a public failure. You are not an idiot. If you have this, it makes you a unique person with a unique perspective. So whatever failures are there, whatever your quirks are, whatever your limits are, just embrace that. And I have learned that I really enjoy writing, I really enjoy structuring information, I really enjoy researching, I really enjoy teaching. So I became that. I became a list maker, a note taker, an email writer, a tutorial writer, a teacher, a trainer, a tool junkie. I read and reread everything. I really enjoy doing peer reviews. I really enjoy working on my own. I really also enjoy working with a team. So again, whatever is there, whatever you have, just embrace it and make sure that you make the best out of it, because it's extremely important for you to have this confidence in yourself. And whatever limitations that you think that you have, uh, you will learn to kind of work around those limitations, and you will find your way. I'm pretty sure about that. So thank you so much for listening to me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and I'll be happy to connect with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so